Wax gets exposed by his ex.
That I was in an abusive relationship with somebody that was semi-known. I knew that no matter what, no one would believe me. And my child, who's 3.5 years old, does not know who his father is. That day, my fear of calling the police was unbearable. Like literally unbearable. It's like no one's going to believe me. Plus the shame. Plus it's like the police is going to get here and either we're going to have, in my mind, we're either going to have because he has my, or two, the cops are going to come. He's going to charm them. He's going to make them laugh. He's going to tell them who he is. He's going to tell them who he works for. He's going to tell them what he does. And the cops are going to walk away just like it's happened before with other women. He is too charming. And at the time, I'm not bruised up yet.
That's right. In a recent episode of Pivot with a Purpose, hosted by Carla Wilmaris, the former romantic partner of Wax, she really exposed what it was like to be in a engagement, relationship, entanglement, dalliance, and I think it was the most clear-cut response to why Charlamagne may have had to cut Wax out of his inner circle. And we're going to break down why that is, but you need to stay tuned to the end of the video so I can kind of connect the dots for you. So what I'm going to do is break down this episode and get into the ramifications of what this meant for Charlamagne and Wax. So, Wax is called out by Carla. She said that she was in an abusive relationship with someone known and that she believed no one would ever think that she was telling the truth. And for those of you saying, oh, she doesn't say Wax's name, she was very clearly talking about Wax. As she said, this person was known, this person was charismatic, this person was somebody I went to a wedding with, and we all know she's talking about that Andrew Schultz wedding, and it's 100% Wax. There's no doubt about it. She also calls out Wax for being in zero communication with her ever since they had a child, and said that, I guess, basically saying that he just hasn't been a presence. This is typical, separation stuff. It's not new as far as when you hear about people separating and having a kid together. Maybe the connection between the two people gets so bad that they struggle to establish a bond even close enough for them to raise a child and co-parent. So even though it looks crazy, I can kind of see that happening. And she says that after the Diddy Cassie situation, a lot of men started to kind of reflect on their past and maybe reach out to people that they may have been harmful with when they were in relationships. And she says that Wax most likely sent her a cash app of $100 after the Diddy video dropped. A little something. And maybe that was to kind of cover his tracks or to be on top of something, because maybe she would talk about him perceivably after this Diddy Cassie situation. A lot of women started to call out their partners who engage in domestic violence. So maybe that's what she means. But I think she's hinting that that was manipulative. But what I found the most interesting is when Carla says that she spoke with someone after Wax talked about the dissolution of their relationship.
But I want to get back to your marriage. So can we talk about this on a podcast right now?
Yes. The truth is, I am a narcissist, and I need to... I'm traditional, man.
No, you're not.
I want to come home. I want to come home to a wife, to cook meal, the kids getting taken care of.
Tradition
take care
isn't
of the house.
necessarily good.
And I think she's talking about Charlamagne.
I reached out to somebody who didn't believe me when I first told, and I had asked him to stop talking about me publicly. So I made a phone, but he didn't stop. He didn't stop talking about me publicly. And it was all jokes. Everything was a fucking joke. And I remember I called somebody and I asked for it to be stopped and for it to just completely stop. This is not a joke. This is not games. This is my life. I needed to stop. And I knew immediately that they didn't believe me. We had a second conversation and I said some things. I still didn't expose everything, but I remember that person telling me, I've just never seen him be aggressive towards women. I've never, that's just not who I know. But I had the conversation, and I really had that conversation with that person. And then the one thing I do remember was that they listened. Although they told me I don't know. I've never seen them act this way. They gave me the time to listen.
I believe she made a call to Charlamagne when Wax was on Brilliant Idiots, talking about how the relationship ended and kind of how like he has certain requirements for a woman to be with him, because she goes into detail and says that it was a he, and says that this person knew Wax and could not see Wax conducting himself in that manner. So if I had to guess, just reckless speculation, but educated reckless speculation, Carla is talking about Charlamagne. I believe Carla saw the episode, was like, all right, this dude's playing with me. He's trying to control the narrative about my journey, and called him and explained what happened. And that is what ultimately led to Charlamagne kicking Wax out the whip and distancing himself for good. Now, I urge all of you to watch this episode, as this is only my perspective of what I saw, but it's really interesting, and I think kind of settles what happened between Carla and Wax. Previously, she had kind of talked around the issue. She hadn't really been direct, but now we get a clear picture of what went on. But let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you think Wax will respond. I think it is in Wax's best interest not to respond. And if he does, he might make a big mistake. I do think that there might be some leftover animosity, because Carla was talking about, you know, the new girl that he's with, so on and so forth, and how she sees it as like her same story playing over again. It might be the same story playing over again, but it might not be. It's perfectly conceivable that Wax might have turned over a new leaf and will indeed treat this differently than he has treated his previous two lady friends that he had a falling out with. And I think there's some type of reconciliation that needs to be done. Maybe Wax can build a bridge and put this behind him. I don't know, because Wax, I think, is still very talented. I know a lot of people say he's like just a big, tall and muscular, but I actually think he's a smart guy. He just maybe needs to corral and harness what he's great at. And Carla even takes shots at Wax and says that, you know, he always has something new. He always has a new studio. He always has airsoft guns, some type of new venture that he's doing, chicken, a farm or whatever. And I'm just elaborating on that because it's just fair to prove that she was specifically talking about Wax. All right, y'all, that's my video for now. I felt like I had to do this largely because it was the most clear Carla has been. Pivot with a Purpose is the name of her podcast. Wax, I believe, continues to do the show with L'Oreal, and I believe he's building stuff. I don't want to sound like I'm taking shots, but maybe one day Wax will give his side of the story. And I would think if he's not talking about why Charlamagne and him split, it would be because the truth would be too much for people to bear. All right, y'all. Follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.